And I'm going to introduce our next moderator of the second panel discussion today, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, are you with us? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well. I just need to start my video.
Good. Long time no see. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Considering the craziness going around us, I'm still doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah, stay positive always. Okay, so I think that our panelists are joining us right now, right? Okay, we see Krzysztof joined. Yes. Hello, Krzysztof.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good answer. Okay, more people. Cecilia, hello.
Hello.
Yes. Guys, so we're waiting for Diego. Oh, Diego is here.
I am.
Ooh.
Yes, and
Yes, I am. Hello.
hello, Diego. And Katja. Yeah, great. So all the panelists are here with us. Anne-Marie, I'm giving the virtual mic to you, so you can start the second panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Max. I hope all our listeners and participants are well and safe, and that you can care for your nearest and dearest in a safe manner, regardless of what that might entail. We live in a crazy world for sure, and the world has been impacted in different ways. And this panel is about talking a little bit about the challenges and opportunities that we see now in these times of COVID-19. In case you don't know me, my name is Anne-Marie Colliander. I'm the owner of Inkrea. It's a management consulting company based in Sweden that assists companies in the language industry, primarily in the growth and development strategies. Some of you might also recognize me from the conference circus, as I'm deeply involved in LocWorld, and also the NTIF, Nordic Translation and Interpretation Forum. As you can imagine, the latter of my business line is severely impacted by the situation that we currently have. But despite that, I'm busier than ever. And that's one of the things that I think we can bring up in our panel today. How is that? How is that happening? That business might decrease, but we are all super busy. I have 4 distinguished panelists from the European language industry here with me today, and I will start by introducing them in how I see them from my left. I don't know how you see them, but I'm going to start with Krzysztof Zdanowski, Chris for short, makes things easier. Owner of Summa Linguae Technologies based in beautiful Krakow, Poland. Hello, Chris, how are you?
Hi, Anne-Marie, thanks. I'm doing okay. I hope you are all okay, and thank you for hosting me.
Can you tell me a little bit about your company in very short words?
Yes, so we're a medium-sized multilingual data management company originally from Poland. We provide localization services, managed services, and data services, serving our customers across 4 verticals: IT, e-commerce, e-learning, and life sciences, out of 9 offices, and we're about 250 people with a run rate revenue of about $25 million.
Thank you, Chris. Second panelist, somewhat closer to me geographically, Cecilia Enbäck, owner of Translator Scandinavia in Stockholm, Sweden. How are you today, Cecilia?
I'm fine. It's a lovely spring day here in Stockholm, at least. So I've been out. I don't have any socks on for the first time, which is fantastic.
Tell us a little bit about your company.
We are, I would also say, a mid-sized Swedish LSP, but we're much smaller than Chris. So we have about 3 million euros in revenues and employ 15 people. We have one office in Stockholm. Our customer base is mainly, or is half for translation companies, and half for their end clients. And we also do have a lot of diversification in our offering. So we do life science, we do marketing, we do e-commerce, we do whatever our clients want us to do. A lot of educational or editorial materials.
Very well. Third panelist here, Diego Cresceri from Italy. And I'm sorry to say that I don't know which city you are based on, but I know your company is Creative Words. How are you today, Diego?
I'm pretty fine, thank you very much. We are based in Genoa, by the way. Yeah, and I'm actually in the office today.
So you had a commute today?
I had to commute today, yes. I was forced. And yeah, we are Creative Words. We are a very small translation company based in Italy, 1.2 million euros in revenue. We do localization. We do a lot of machine translation post-editing, which is what I always talk about. And in different industries, e-commerce, IT, and many others. And we do other services as well. We don't do interpreting for now.
Are you also a hybrid company, meaning that you serve both end clients as well as MLVs, like Cecilia?
I would say that probably 80% of our business comes from MLVs and 20% from end customers.
Okay, thank you very much, Diego. And Katja, how are you today? You are the owner.
Can you hear me well?
We can hear you very well. You are the owner of Delingua, based in Helsinki, Finland, Katja Virtanen. And please tell us a little bit about your company.
Yes. So hello, everybody. Greetings from Helsinki. So Delingua is a mid-sized company, but actually it's well, one of the largest in Finland, really. This is a small country and a small LSPs as well. And we have a revenue of around 5 million euro. And we only serve end customers in translations, interpreting, and a little bit of language training. And I'm also here in the office right now. We have an open space office, and I'm here with 2 colleagues. The rest of the people are working from home. And in this open space, we are basically, sitting really socially distancing from one another.
Very well. Thank you very much, all 4 of you, for joining us today. Thank you, Smartcat, for giving us this opportunity to tell the world a little bit about our situations.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
So I wanted to start with a little statement. I mean, we had a conversation, me and the panelists, last week discussing what we wanted to get out of this panel. And we have all seen the surveys going around from different research companies in our space. We see predictions, high and low, but most of them shows that the LSPs suffer. But when we discussed that, you didn't feel the same. So why don't you shed some light over the current situation in your respective companies? Would you like to start, Katja?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's because of what we focus on, but we haven't seen yet so much difference. Little bit slower days, some drop in orders, but actually, especially in the beginning, we did a lot of crisis communication. We have also had interpreters in the press conferences of the government. So basically, first there was a lot of work. It actually reminded us a little bit of the GDPR times, so it was good. So what we don't know is where this is all heading, how long this is going to last, and what's going to be there in September. But basically our biggest problem at the moment is that we have charged that around 20% of our customers, because we only work with end customers, and our end customers are in marketing and in private sector, basically. So they are laid off temporarily. So that's a bit of a problem, because when your customers are not there, they don't bring you orders. But we want to keep, good contact with them try to keep those customers so that once they will be back, they will come back to us.
Diego, Italy was hit first, I would say, here, at least in Europe. How is the situation for you? We have a little bit of a longer perspective of the actual crisis.
As Katja said, some of our customers are closed at the moment, so they are not really working. And we had actually some customers which diminished their volumes towards us, really, especially travel companies. I mean, the MLB is working with travel companies, I would say, and a couple of other clients as well. Other than that, we haven't seen any decrease, any huge decrease. I think we are in line with last year's last quarter. So it's pretty good. I would say, of course, I wanted to grow badly, but we are not growing that much as I wanted to. I think we are stable, which is, I think, very good compared to other industries or other companies I know of in the language industry. So it's quite positive. I also don't know where it's heading, but I'm positive it will end very soon. Mm-hmm. I can say.
Cecilia, what is the situation in Sweden?
It's varied. It depends on, if you're an interpreting company, you have lost quite a lot because there are no community interpreting, especially because that's a big thing in Sweden. For us as the company, we still have not had, we've seen that people are not ordering that much. The phone isn't ringing anymore, but it doesn't matter because it's here by me at the office switchboard. We have seen, we've received a few new clients, and but we have not lost any jobs as far as we can see. I think though that what they are ordering are, as Katja said, are more crisis related information. That's what we are seeing, a lot of that. It's like the GDPR 2 years ago. And I'm not sure how we should interpret the situation. So we are sort of sitting calm in our boat at the moment and not doing anything, just monitoring very closely what is happening. And also, of course, seeing what our customers give, the information they give. But it's hard to know where things are going. But I talked to the media localization companies in Sweden that do subtitling, and they are busier than ever because they have a lot of more, what do you call them, that when you sign news text, where you type for text news texts, for instance, and also when a lot of series coming, people spend more time looking at videos and they want to have them subtitled, so they are quite busy. The interpreting companies, as I said, they have lost, but they have not. It had gained. I talked to one of the companies, and they started last week. It was up again. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Chris, in Poland, how does it look like in Poland when it comes to your company at Summa Linguae, and what do you know about your peers in the country?
Yes, so I don't want to be this optimistic. I think the industry will suffer a delayed ignition effect because I think that's the nature of our services. They're rather pre-booked. I think the billings in Q1 have been booked prior to COVID mainly, unless you're an interpreting company or you're mainly in conferences and things like that. But I think we also had a very good quarter. We have our numbers are public. We've posted 35% year-on-year growth, which is good for us, especially given the 2 acquisitions we've closed in December. But I don't want to be optimistic. I think I would rather brace for impact and be positively surprised. I think that will be the nature, and I think that pattern is also similar to other larger LSPs. We've seen RWS, TransPerfect posting. We saw SDL's comment to their financial statements or financial results. I think that pattern is somehow repeated there. So we're also lucky to be in the, what I would say, COVID, good verticals, I would say, you know, IT, life sciences, e-learning. We virtually do no interpreting. We also work with blue chip customers, rather larger programs. So not so much a long tail of smaller accounts. Most of our revenue, almost 60% of our revenue is in the US. I think we do 6-7% of revenue in Poland. A significant chunk in Scandinavia, but only e-commerce, or mainly e-commerce as well. So I think we're on the safe side. But again, I would wait till the end of Q2 and see where the industry is heading and what the habits of the buyers will be in May, June, July to actually judge the effect.
That's the same thing I think we see everywhere, that you can't do any things now, and it's also guessing. Of course, educated guesses depending on where you come from, but of course it's challenging for us all, I would say.
Yeah, what I forgot to say is that we work with many communication agencies, and I find that some companies are taking the time to revamp their website, for instance, and this is getting us much work in this moment.
And Katja, any comment from you? I mean, I know you have a diverse set of language services spanning all the way from translation to interpretation. Have you seen a shift in the balance of the revenue, where it's coming from?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, we all know that on-site interpreting is basically called off. But like I said, then there are press conferences where we can help. But really, I know that a lot of migration meetings, court hearings, they've been cancelled. So a lot of interpreting is basically gone, or at least on hold. But in translation, I think like my company does a lot of investor relations, for example, and that comes from the legislation. So basically, those will be done anyways. So maybe bigger projects will be put on hold, but I don't think they will be cancelled necessarily. So I think it's actually, for us, it's pretty much business as usual. But I know from other LSPs that I've spoken to that, for example, those LSPs in Finland that have larger contracts with EU, for example, they have suffered in that sense at least. And then, of course, those that have only interpreting, for example, those have suffered. I don't know really well if they're doing, if they have managed to organize the remote interpreting, instead of the on-site interpreting. But yeah, it varies depending on your focus.
Yes. So to the audience, I had decided to try and take questions during the panel conversation instead of waiting until we exhausted our own experiences. So I will jump in with the question that we have received from, and excuse me if I don't pronounce your name correctly, Burso Demirers from Heliocode Translations, asking the panelists, in this case you, Katja, involved in the interpretation sector, has any of you started receiving any remote interpretation requests, and have you tried marketing remote interpretation in the last months? I really wonder about the client's approach to remote interpretation in different countries as a general opinion and as a means to see this sector's future a little bit. And I know from Sweden that, I mean, governments typically move very slowly. It's not, they cannot shift overnight. They have contracts in place already for one type of interpreting. So in that sector, things move very slowly. Have you any other insights, Katja, to share with Burso?
Yeah, well, the thing is that what happened with customers is that because we do a lot of conference interpreting, like large conferences and seminars, and it's really interesting because in those, usually the customers, they don't want to use remote interpreting. They don't trust it, they're not used to it, they don't like it, whatever. And also the interpreters are not so keen on using remote interpreting. But what happened now is that obviously everybody's forced either to cancel the meeting, the conference, or you start looking at these new possibilities. And I can see in both customers and in interpreters, all of a sudden there is a huge interest in remote interpreting. But of course, for customers, that's not so they can't organize it that quickly. They don't know the systems, but of course we have also looked into that. And I know, Anne-Marie, you're going to ask us later if there's anything we could have done, done to prepare for this. I can say we could have probably done more marketing for remote interpreting. We haven't done that, but however, we are coping now, and I know we have already solutions ready for that. And I also know from customer side that some of the, for example, annual meetings, they've all cancelled. Also because the legislation said that you can't have meetings like this, but those annual meetings of listed companies that were cancelled, actually now a lot of them are back to our calendars, and instead of maybe remote interpreting tools, what they do is that they have like an empty room where they only have the company people and the shareholders are not there, they are remotely, and so they have only the company people and the interpreters there in the booth. So that's not strictly said, that's not remote interpreting really, because the interpreters are there, they are not sitting remotely, but at least they are approaching our side.
It's an adjustment to the
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
One question for you, Cecilia, I'll just jump in with that one as well. It's from Noelia Garasevich. I know she's based in Sweden. She's asking, have you seen a change and the government adapting their messages and communication to more languages or not yet? Do you think there will be an increase in assignments ordered to adapt Swedish communication to an increasingly multicultural Sweden? Thanks, from a translator based in Sweden, as you can
Yes,
imagine.
and I would say to Noella that I hope so, but I don't know because we do very little governmental information, so we don't have that type of conflicts. But I know that people have been, it's been a frustration among quite a lot of language people saying that why aren't there some coordination between how they communicate? Why are they sharing links to pages that are not working and sharing information to maybe another language that's not relevant for this kind of thing? But I hope you're right. I would love to see a more diverse Sweden with more multilingual communication, especially for the immigration languages. And why not take this opportunity of doing it now during this time? I hope so, but we have not seen in my business that much higher demand for translations into the other languages. Some into Arabic, but that's mainly Arabic.
Yeah, and there I know that this is also a lot of volunteer work going on,
Absolutely.
at least in
Absolutely.
Sweden, which is absolutely amazing that the community steps up and help, but it's also something that sometimes we probably wish that they turned into professional translation agency instead of outsourcing that to people without the skills.
And we've also noticed, especially in the Stockholm region, where there is a large group north of Stockholm that has full of immigrants, and they have the information have not reached them about this in their own languages. So it's a disaster, I would say, a human catastrophe for them to not be able to find the information needed, and also to be sick and not understanding what's happening and don't know when to get the right treatment because of language problems. So it's
and they might not even be allowed to have an interpreter in place.
No.
For you, Krzysztof, I have a question that is related to sales, and I do know that you have quite a large sales team in your company. How do you approach direct business with the current climate? How do you sell? Do you sell?
Yes, we continue all our sales initiatives. We have not stopped. Probably targeting, well, marketing, I would say. Sales are not so affected. I would say marketing is slightly affected because we've reshifted communication. Some of it we've stopped as we saw there's just a little point in targeting certain groups of companies or verticals at the moment. So sales are rather, like I said, the nature of our business, mainly based on periodical RFQs, larger RFQs. So these are, if they're postponed, we just can't submit an RFQ, but it's rather a longer cycle anyway. So all our sales initiatives are ongoing. We barely do any cold calling and ad hoc business. But yeah, there is certainly a focus on our existing customers and making sure we even over communicate with them and try to forecast and predict their pipeline of projects. And these larger programs, it's as we're quite dependent on them, it is important to understand where our customers are going. We do track what we call a lost revenue or postponed revenue. So we have a tracker of all projects that were somehow affected by COVID. We do track their value, and we want to follow up and see where they end up. Some of them will be reinitiated. This week, we've actually seen first project that got unfrozen. It was a project by one of our largest customers in the US that was put on hold a few weeks ago, and now they've decided to reopen this initiative. We've placed 2 resources to manage it. So yeah.
Very good. You mentioned something here really important, and that is, I mean, you even do more. And this is an impression that I have, that in these times, we tend to need to do more for less. I mean, this is not only in business, but it's also for our neighbors, for people around us. When we go to the supermarket, we need to put that extra effort into things, and it doesn't have to be less monetary value or more monetary value, but we have to over deliver. Do you agree with that? Diego, how do you see that?
Well, of course, everybody is experiencing longer working hours, even if some volume has stopped. So I fully agree that we need to do more. We do more account management. We talk about more with customers, with freelancers, with vendors. So it's indeed a busy period, even if some volumes have dropped. We are doing a lot of more than before. So from one side, you fear that you might lose some revenue, but I wish I could hire more people, other than like stay as we are. So it's difficult. It's very busy. It's true. Yeah.
Cecilia, do you agree? Do you do more for less?
Yes, we work a lot. So, and I also think you have to go that extra mile to get the job or to make the customer happy. But it's also easier when we had our pre-chats. It's also easier to contact people. It's also easier to get to contact them and say, you always start with how are you? Are you well? And that sort of personal note gives a lot of extra thoughts at the moment, and I think it builds relationship, and something good can come out of that as well.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that we work more, but for the moment being, we don't work for less. I mean, we have not received any decrease in price from customers. Just a couple of them. I think it would have happened in any case.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to the price pressure in a little bit. We have a question here from Gaetan, 6 Continents in France. Are you considering taking the opportunity of your team being less busy to either diversify your services, train your team to new technologies, MT automation, etc., or new marketing sales strategy techniques, or ask the team members to change their role within your company? How do you reorganize and prepare for the future and potential upcoming peak? It was a long question, but I think very relevant to the topic. Any ideas? How about you, Katja? Are you looking into new services or reallocating your team members to become or learn new skills to become something that they are not already?
Yeah, well, of course, I mean, there are always development plans. And of course, we have those. Nothing has changed, because when you are a company that all the time things are going on, we are all the time developing ourselves. So we are not all of a sudden in a new situation, really. Those development plans are still there. Whether we have now time to carry them out, that's a different question, because we really are busy. But maybe what I wanted to say something to what you were talking about earlier about I believe positive vibes come out of concrete measures, really. So you have to do more, but it's not about really the quantity that you bombard your customers with emails and marketing and send them out, newsletters about remote working tips and stuff like that everybody's doing. The thing is that how do you really stand out? And another thing is also how do you build trust, what Cecilia says. So now it's really about quality of doing things, because when you have less time and less possibilities, then you have to concentrate on the quality. But and this also actually applies to Kajetan's question that was a long question with a lot of measures. So basically now it's not the time, in my opinion, to do all kinds of things and get involved in all kinds of activities and development plans, but really think what is it that you can do to get you out of this crisis even stronger. What will help you to be stronger after this is over, and how can you build trust during this time? That's what I think.
Yeah, because we all want to be there. We want to stay alive. I mean, it's stay healthy and stay alive. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And we want to keep our people as well, and the freelance community and the partners and the clients, of course. So we need to be there for each other.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. I mean, how do we secure the talent, that the talent will still be there? I mean, if business goes down, if volumes go down, because I listened to another presentation yesterday, and out of, I think it was almost 1,300 freelancers, 46% reported that they had a loss in revenue, and a significant loss in revenue and in volumes. So how can we secure that this talent will still be around when the peak comes? Because it will come. I'm convinced of that. And this relates both to internal staff and your vendors and freelancers.
Yeah, for if I can start then with, for freelancers, we've decided that we should do we should do a spread. We should sort of see where we put our eggs, and we should distribute them, and not just to put everything on the same vendor that we always do, because out of its practical reasons, but we want to have them all there when we go back. So maybe one gets a little bit less, but it's more evenly distributed. And it's the same with the staff in-house. We try to distribute because some work like hell still, and they have so much to do. But then when someone else has a little less, then just say, what can you do in the time that you're not fully occupied? How can you help your colleagues? Can you do TM maintenance? Can you do checking whatever things that needs to be done for your clients? Can you do checkups with vendors? Whatever. So be creative.
Chris, do you agree, or do you have a different approach?
Well, I would say that first of all, it's very difficult to predict nowadays. So I would really focus on what is really important rather than planning and strategizing on futuristic ideas, because we just don't know. I think the shanty town will not be rebuilt the same way, So I think that's really difficult to predict. But I also think that we really have to be careful, because everybody will remember how we reacted these days. So I think these trade-offs, like letting people go or some cuts that we need to take, we just have to be very mindful and cautious about this, because people will remember. On the other hand, I think it's one of these times that I'm just in awe of how ingenious and creative mankind is. I mean, we're literally, we've completed initiatives that we couldn't complete for 3 years. We've completed them in 2 weeks, right? Or we now have huge factories and IT companies run out of kitchens, right? And where huge universities going e-learning, stuff that they couldn't achieve in years. So I'm just in awe of how this situation is reinventing us, and I think the world will be very different. It will be better, I think, doing more with less. Frugality, one of the principles of innovation that's so close to me. I think that's the way to go.
I will shoot another question at you, Chris, since you are at it. Monier Sydney is asking, well, it's for everyone, but I think I'll start with you. Don't you think this crisis is an opportunity for the AI and automation system rather than human being?
Absolutely, I absolutely think so. And we see some of the large corporations putting more money than ever into two initiatives. One of them is climate change. I'm really impressed by BP, for example. BP have doubled their commitment to fighting the climate change. These times, they've actually reduced some of their folks' salaries and froze all hikes, and yet they've doubled their commitment to climate change. So I think that's impressive. And I also think AI and technology automation in general. I don't think, like I said, I don't think all these folks who've been sent home will return to work, because I think AI will replace some of these labor heavy jobs faster than ever. We see Samsung putting $25 billion into a new automation fund, one of our largest customers as well. We're closely following this initiative. So I think that's amazing. And I would also, we've seen these surveys that, you know, this industry or this vertical will be affected more. I think we're all gladly not infected by the virus, but we're all affected by the virus. And I think these verticals or industries that will come out stronger, it's not really vertical specific. I would say it's company specific. We've seen the Kodaks and the Nokias going out of business virtually overnight. And it wasn't related to any virus. So now obviously that stimulus is a little bit from the outside, but I think these the companies who can reinvent themselves, who can automate, who can be creative, I think, be it from the automotive industry, you know, or marketing or conference industry, very affected by the outcome of COVID, doesn't matter. They will come out stronger. We'll see some new leaders coming out at the other side of the tunnel.
Thank you very much, Chris. That's very wise. Yeah. I wanted to ask you then the question that Katja already a little bit mentioned already. If there's anything in your companies, any developments, investments, precautions that you have done in the past that you can really now sense paid off. And I'm thinking about you, Diego, because you said initially that you do a lot of machine translation and post editing, which is closely related to the previous question. Is there anything that you have done that make you stand stronger right now?
Actually, no. There are many things that I wish I had done, but no. For instance, we were not ready really for remote working, which sounds really basic, but we were not ready because this is something I had in mind for long, but I didn't implement anything. So we did it overnight, basically, even before there was the lockdown in Italy, but we were not ready for that. Machine translation and automation has been in my vision since the start of my company, so we were ready for that. We do a lot of that, but it was not planned, any part of any contingency plan at all. So I would say remote working, and I wish I was more prepared for that, because I don't think it's really true that it's like working from the office. It's not for us. It's not. I'm not talking only about technical issues. I think you need to get used to it, and I wish we were used to it before this crisis. This is why we're thinking of going back to the office very soon.
How about you, Cecilia?
We talked about this this morning, actually, my partner Carolina and me, and we said that the best thing that we did was actually getting ISO certified 3 years ago. ISO 9001, that is, because we had thought about not the COVID crisis, but we've done a lot of things in crisis management and crisis predictions and checking out possibilities and opportunities and potential threats and everything like that. So we were, I mean, at the time we didn't think it was necessary, but now seeing how prepared we got out of it, we're very happy we did it, actually. So that was our best thing, I think.
But you do have to update the instructions on where to meet if there is a fire, right?
Yes. Because it's not relevant anymore.
Have you encountered any other problems apart from that with your whole team working remotely?
Yeah, maybe that we can't reach everyone. I mean, we have chat discussions with the people over via Teams, and we also have a cyber coffee break, a cyber fika every morning. But not everyone is interested in joining that. So I actually have a few people that have not been visible since 9th of March. So, which is a bit sad. I mean, I chat with them, but I have not seen them, which is so. I really like the camera. I really like to see what they're doing, but they are not. So that's something I wish maybe we could have had that type of thing in our crisis management plan or whatever it's called. That we should have had a structure for online meetings, but we don't. So we are actually taking out that at the moment. So.
And I know you mentioned to me several weeks ago that you also made an initiative that your staff members could bring whatever equipment they wanted from, I mean, not everything, but I mean, anything that could ease your working position.
Yeah. And did they do it? And did they do it? No.
Okay. You gave them the opportunity at least. Yes. And I think that was a very smart move, because what we don't want now is that people come back with neck pains and tennis elbows and.
No, but I actually asked a few days ago, just also sort of preparatory for this talk, that what they most missed, and it was the desks that they can, what do you call them? The rising desks, that they can, the stand-up desks. So that's actually what they're most missing.
How about you, Katja?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to come back to what Chris said and to your question about automation, which was a while back. But it's difficult to ask for a floor here. But anyways, I mean, we all know that, over the 3 recessions that have occurred in the past 30 years, we know that pace of automation has increased in each or after each. And we all know that, anywhere you go now, you see new inventions. It's like really the time for new inventions. But one thing that I haven't heard today, maybe I wasn't listening to all sessions earlier, but I think what we're going to see is like a huge reappreciation and revival of human interaction, because there is such thing as too much technology. So if we have platforms, automation, technology everywhere, people are really going to need that personalized service, and I think those who will be winners out of all this are those who combine it best.
And this is very much aligned with what Sarah Maria said in a very early presentation this morning, very good one. She was talking about that the relationship building is so important, and this might be, I mean, you all represent translation interpreting companies of a certain size. You're not the biggest, you're not the smallest, you're somewhere there in the middle. And the companies that can build the strongest relationships are the ones that probably will stand stronger when we come out on the other side, because you have put a lot of effort. And maybe we'll come back to that again, that we have to do more to deliver and to overproof our importance in the relationships.
Yeah, I think I'm really saying, sorry, go.
No,
yeah, go.
No, please.
That's the problem. Yeah, I just wanted to reinforce that I think that there is even a niche for those companies that are not so technological, because that's, with so much technology, the more there is, the more, humans are needed. I believe that's just my prediction.
Mm.
And also some of the clients aren't ready for all this automation either. So they are happy with emails and sending files and stuff like that. So don't forget those clients.
That's a very important remark, Cecilia. We actually have a question on that note. Okay. Mario Chavez is asking, amidst the talk about automation, do you see niches of old-fashioned manual translation or localization not so heavily dependent on the latest technologies? Because I work in one of those niches.
Yes, and I think that you can do whatever you want with automation, of course, but I mean, yeah, we help everyone. I assume that's for us all. I mean, but it depends on on also how your company looks like. I mean, we're not the really techie one. We have all the solutions that you can have, and we can do all the techie stuff. But I mean, my staff can do everything, which I assume everyone can. So.
I just want to talk a little bit to the audience again. I hope you will be patient with the fact that we cannot answer all the questions. We have currently 552 listeners and plenty of questions coming in. So I'm trying to find the most relevant one. So if I miss any, we will be able to answer these questions afterwards. We do have a question from Françoise Bajon in France, Lyon, if I'm not mistaken. She writes, I believe that like in other crises before, translation will not be over affected. Companies that are already international will continue as they will not want to lose this chunk of revenue. And when domestic market slows down, companies will look for increased revenue abroad. Do you share this approach or opinion?
I do share it, ciao Françoise, I do share it completely. I can see that many companies are thinking about going in foreign countries, opening other markets in order to have differentiation of risks. There's a lot going on in that direction, I think. So absolutely, in market communication, for that, I just saw a comment with my name. I was distracted. Sorry for that. There's a lot of efforts for internationalization and these kind of things. Companies are looking about in order to differentiate risks. Yeah.
How about you, Chris? Any comments on that?
I think going back to the previous question, I think human will always want to buy from human, and we will want to talk to humans. So I think it will be some sort of a hybrid solution. I think we'll use our lives will be augmented. It's not that they will be replaced. We will not enter the super AI era where everything is AI. We will be augmented to a larger extent. I'm already one of these guys who cannot find the way to my office without using a Google map, right, on my smartphone. So I think we'll just go towards, but I'm still driving the car, right? I'm still the brain. And I think that will just be emphasized, and those who think that we'll all stay at home and continue, I think they're mistaken. As far as our industry is concerned, it is borderless by nature. So I think, and to a large extent, localization is a must-have service, right? Like I said, my company provides other services like data services, and data services mainly data collection, data annotation. We've invested close to $10 million last year into a data collection company in Canada. I think this is booming. I mean, most of our revenue growth is now driven by the demand for data collection, data annotation. Obviously, a lot of these in-field projects get postponed and affected by COVID, but remote collections are just, voice-first interaction tools. All the Siris and Bixbys and the like are just booming. So I think, and it is borderless by nature. Many languages, people will want to communicate. People do want to communicate human with human. It is augmented. I think it's not that one is replacing the other. So, and hi, Francois.
Thank you very much, Chris. So why don't we bring the elephant into the room here? I don't know if any of you listened into the panel this morning. It was a great panel, and it was with representatives from Asian companies and language services providers. And Grant Straker was one of them, and he said that he assumed small LSPs will sooner or later run into cash constraints and might stop paying their freelancers. Do we have any comments on price pressure, where the forces are coming from, and should we or should we not push that pressure, potential pressure, down the food chain? Or maybe I should rephrase the question to make it easier for you. Have you experienced any price pressure as of now due to COVID-19? Katja, why don't you start?
No, we haven't. We think some companies will go down that road. Probably those companies that have like large procurement units, those will probably go down that road. But I still come back to my trust and personal human approach. I believe customers will be willing to pay for that service. They want the technology, they want the AI, they want the automation, but they want a trustworthy human approach partner who they can, really rely on. And I think that is what we have done previously. We have aimed to get those customers, and I think we are going to continue that. I think it's really, some companies, they think of the near-term survival thing and they accept those discounts or customers want discounts, and on the other hand, some LSPs give them discounts because they think of the near-term survival only. But if you want to keep the steady cash flow, keep your customers, improve your service, don't lower your prices. Right?
Diego, you work a lot for MLVs, and I recently got information about a Scandinavian-based MLV reducing their prices. At least it sounded as if it was only temporarily, but have you any experiences from your customers? Are they putting that pressure onto you?
Well, actually, no. I mean, some of our customers have asked us to lower the minimum fees, maybe for COVID-related projects. But this is the direction the market would have taken in any case. I'm talking about the minimum fee being lifted. Some is trying to do that. Usually what we do is we try to work on the processes rather than asking for a rate reduction with our freelancers. We don't do that. So yeah, we try to work more with the in-house staff because we need to keep them busy, our linguists, but we don't put the pressure on rates to our freelancers. We don't do that. I have to say that we didn't get so many requests, other than really specific requests for specific projects. We didn't get many requests to lower our rates, I would say. I'm lucky maybe, but I have good customers probably.
That's good to have good customers. Cecilia or Chris, any comments, any experience from price pressuring?
I've had, I would say it's one direct and two masked price reductions. So because they say it's something else, but actually it's a price reduction, and they all say it's due to the COVID crisis. And I think that's bullshit, because it doesn't matter that we get paid less for doing the same type of service. So no, we will not accept it. And because, I'm saying that now, but I think also that as you said before, that it's not, if you start to lower your prices, you will never get them back again. So I don't think it's possible for us to be the same type of company if we start to accept all the discounts.
Very well said. I see many comments here that they applaud your answer, Cecilia. We also have a direct question which is related to price from Jeff Weiser. When should you be willing to lower prices, and when should you hold firm? Maybe that's a more question in general. What do you think, Chris?
I think we're all in this together, and I think these types, it is okay to say that we have a problem, and it is okay to talk to our partners, including vendors, including, again, the nature of our industry, multiple, and the very many freelancers that we work with. And I think as long as we communicate and are transparent about this, it is okay to talk to them. I think it's the way we handle it. It's like I said, everybody will remember the way we reacted to the situation. So these trade-offs, we do have to be very careful about them. I think it is okay to ask your partners if, we're suffering, we have a problem here, be very transparent. Can you help us? It is rather that we all suffer a bit than, that somebody has to suffer a lot. So it is okay to talk to them about this. It is not okay to impose anything. Like we've seen these, I don't want to, drop names, but we've seen one particular example in the industry which went viral by, asking and, well, actually imposing rate cuts in a very not done kind of a way, dismissive. So I wouldn't do this. I think we did talk to our largest providers. We did talk to them about a voluntary temporary cut in the rates. We said that, okay, if you help us these times, we will compensate in Q3 and Q4 by what is really important to them, that is early payment. So I think, and some of them have agreed, some of them have not agreed, and it's okay. And all companies are taking different measures. As far as our client base is concerned, we have not seen price reductions per se. They're mainly, we mainly work on MSAs with larger customers. So that is not that easy to change. Although we did have a number of customers asking for late payments, temporary late payments. So we've just recently, this week, I've spoken with a large German customer whom we've prolonged the payment days from 30 days to 45 days. Initially, they asked for 120 days. But we did have a discussion with them about this and convinced them that 45 should be okay for the two of us. So I think that's the right way to approach this. But I think it's, again, case by case, very specific. I would rather not give advice. It's more about experience sharing these days rather than giving advice, because it's just very difficult to predict and be very taking case by case, right?
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris, because it's also actually being open, taking the responsibility you can, and then also try to be open to your vendors or to your partners or to your clients, whoever it is. I mean, you need to, as we've talked about before, it's all about trust.
And I think it's these times it is about, cash over profits, right? So companies are fueled by cash. And if you run out of cash, the vendors that, they won't get anything if you go out of business soon. So I think it's about thinking about this and putting cash over profits and making sure you manage your cash flow very well, which might be challenging for the smaller companies who do not have a lot of cash buffer, who don't have the force to controlling and finance and admin teams to manage this, who don't have enough relationships with the banks. I think it might be a challenge for them. It is. And it's something that we're also here to help with. I think it is our responsibility to give back to the industry that is so fragmented and made out of very small companies. I think that the larger LSPs like ourselves, we now have the duty and obligation to actually help others.
Very well said, Chris. I was so happy. I saw a tweet last week. It was not from someone in the US. It was someone from the UK, a fellow industry peer. And he said, since we have not yet any problems with our cash flow, we are actually paying all our freelancers earlier than what is stated on the invoice. And that was very nice to read. Any other comments well, I had one of my clients actually said that this situation has given them an opportunity to separate the wheat from the chaff. I think that was more related to employees, that some excel and some maybe fall a little bit behind. But is this also an opportunity to do that with our customers? Katja?
I think so, yeah. I mean, but that's something that we should think all the time. Are the customers profitable for you or not? Then it doesn't make sense to keep them, if it's not profitable business.
There was also a direct question here for you, Katja, from Monier Sydney again. I read your article about the Marketing Trends 2020 published on January 15th of this year on LinkedIn.
All right.
Do you confirm this prediction? Well, you have an audience, you have some fans. Do you confirm this prediction, or would you add up a new main dot afterwards?
Did this person mention one prediction in particular, because there were many?
No.
No.
Do you confirm this prediction?
Yeah, but those marketing trends that I wrote about, I think I can't remember the exact ones that they were, but I would probably add first of all, the trust thing and personal approach. I think that's important. I think that will be even more important. But then the other thing that we actually spoke about in our pre-meeting, pre-panel, was that I think you all know, this is happening probably also in your countries, that there are strong campaigns about support your local, this kind of nationalistic approach. I don't want to talk about nationalism, but we see it everywhere. It's a fact. Help the small, support your local. So now this goes out to all smaller companies. Have you thought about, using this yourselves? Because, it very easily when we have constraints and when we have problems, we start, involving ourselves in maybe trying to find solutions. How do I spend my time? Should I learn something new? But why don't you just come out as yourself, as a small company, human approach. You are a local company, you are doing well, you would like to continue your service, your company. So probably the customers, if you are genuine, they will want to help you. And we all know that big companies, this is not against big companies, but we all know that those companies, they use the slogan on their website and everywhere, like we are the largest service provider in Finland or in Europe or in America or wherever. So this is the time for the small companies. This is the momentum for them, actually, I believe.
And I actually went down to the local bakery that I have in my own little neighborhood here. And I said, I'm so pleasantly surprised by all the cars that are on your driveway. And I said, well, we have doubled.
Yes, exactly.
Our sale of pastries and cookies, whilst the big cafe in the city center, they closed shop.
So
because here, when people work from home,
for cafes and bakeries, it can also apply for LSPs. And I really think at the moment local is trendy. Offshoring is not trendy. I'm sorry, but I feel that way.
We have only 3 minutes left of our time. I see Max is in the picture now, trying to signal that we need to wrap up. But we have so many interesting questions, and we will try to answer them in the chat. One that is close to my heart and Cecilia's is what plans for conferencing events? Is NTIF going to happen? And we will have to say, we don't know, but we are preparing. We're hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. So we will have a solution in place one way or the other. Might be a hybrid, who knows? I've asked all my panelists to think about some words of wisdom so that we can summarize this panel conversation on a positive note. Diego, what's your words of wisdom?
Say some words
to our wisdom, audience.
I guess. I really think, I'm optimistic always, but I really think it's going to end. I think in Q4 we'll see a recovery from all of this. So stay strong, I would say. It's going to end.
Cecilia.
Yeah, I must say that thank you, Gaetan, for helping me seeing this already a year ago, but constant change is the new normal.
Chris?
I would say it's Teachers Appreciation Day every day, and remember how complex and interdependent we are, and manage your cash flow well.
And how about you, Katja?
Yes, I would say also that I believe actually our industry will rebound from this because we are a strong, resilient industry as a whole. Globalization will continue. There's still going to be work for us. Obviously, some will hurt more than the others. Those that do not have a strong balance sheet or good cash flow, obviously that should have been done already earlier. Now it's maybe too late. But anyways, I think to end in a positive note, I think if you haven't now taken technology, automation on board, do that now, and then combine it with human approach, and I think you will rise like a phoenix.
Wonderful. So. I would like to thank you all for putting in all the time to prepare for this panel. My last words would be that if we live as if there is no tomorrow, there will be no tomorrow. So I think we have to be brave enough to have a forward-thinking approach so that we will stay strong when all this is over. So again, thank you, Smartcat, for hosting us. And I think we're just on time.
These were amazing words. Thank you very much. Krzysztof, Cecilia, Diego, Katja, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mari, thank you for moderating this panel discussion and taking care of questions as well.